Welcome to Fouts Boxing Theory. In this video, we're going to be talking about my analysis of Jaron Ennis versus Stanionis, and you're probably not going to like it. So, first off, we're going to talk about a little bit of strategy, controlling with the feinting, going off with the lead hand control. Now, not a lot of actual head movement from Jaron Ennis throughout the course of the fight. A lot of attacks where he'll make a double attack like this to control Stanionis, and his head will basically be in the same position. Stanionis jumping off the line preemptively for the second attack, the jab to the body there. But not a lot of actual head movement from Jaron when he's actually punching, right? A little control here into a control right through the guard. Again, controlling space with his athleticism. One, and then instead of doing a double jab, this time going around the guard, hitting him with a right hand. All really great stuff, but also very, very, very athletic moves. Now, a little bit of illegal stuff. I'm not really that against this move. As you can see, he's still able to throw a left hook right here and get it off against Jaron. It didn't really hinder him. However, once he throws this shot and he's holding him here, right? Now he's getting control of his head and he's holding for some reason. I'm not sure what the strategy is anymore, right? Why is he here? This was not an accident. He kind of did this on purpose. I like to think about this a little bit as like flopping, right? No one likes to see a flopper in the NBA, right? Again, control into an attack, right? Stanionis is not very good with his actual counters. And then penduluming off, right? And then Jaron Ennis, decent with his counters, getting off the line here kind of well. But notice he's leaving the line here, crossing it, getting back to his, original position. The left hook is coming. He kind of has to be very careful of that shot. Spoiler alert, he's not always that careful with that shot. Okay. Now, again, getting back to a little bit of the analysis, control into a hard right hand around the guard. Stanionis is not a guy who's like crossing the line, transitioning his weight, changing positions. He's just kind of coming forward, but he only knows how to come forward from the right side of the line with his stepping jab. So when he doesn't change positions when he's blocking or interacting with punches. He just kind of shells up, leans forwards, and squeezes and hopes, right? And he winds up getting hit around the guard by a very, very, very common type of attack from Jaron Ennis. Now, again, the hand coming out, control, right? Not a big deal. A little bit of head movement from Stanionis. Nothing great coming from Jaron Ennis. Like just some average boxing. It's okay, right? Controlling, but a lot of control with the lead hand there. Not a lot of actual head movement. Now, moving into the corner, control. Again, whacking ish around the guard, but no post punch defense here. Again, trying to leave the line the same way. The ring is kind of cut off, and he winds up getting hit by this punch here. Now, nobody really liked my pre-fight video. We fight how we train, talking about flaws in this, and I talked about the idea that Jaron Ennis has a habit, a very, very, very bad habit of kind of falling off the line. He stops fighting after he throws a right hand. He tries to reset in front of his opponent. And here, I told you guys he was going to get caught doing it eventually. Here he is getting caught by a guy. And it's very important that you guys pay attention to this next part that I'm about to tell you. But Stanionis had only fought one guy in the last 3 years. One fight. And that guy only had 6 fights. And that guy had only been fighting once a year. So the only fight that Stanionis had in the last 3 years was against a guy who was only fighting once a year. They were both having warm-up fights. They were both completely inactive. And here it is. Stanionis catching him with a big shot. With the shot that he's supposed to get him with. Now, Stanionis is not a great puncher, right? He doesn't have a great knockout ratio. Here's Jaron Ennis again. Very, 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 very athletic type control, right? Gets hit to the body, and then he's going to get hit here. Whoop, hit to the body again. And then again, he's using the same strategy, southpaw, as he was orthodox, where it's just lead hand control, right? Hoping that it winds up being enough. Now, again, very, very athletic pace, okay? Very, very not an easy strategy, okay? Double jab that time, and then this time he goes for a 1-1-2, or a 1-2 instead, taking advantage of the fact that Stanionis moves straight back on the line, right? And it winds up hitting him. Good job. But again, all the stuff that Jaron Ennis is doing takes a lot of energy. Again, lead hand control, snaps, taking a lot of steps with his shots here, getting hit over the top by this lead hand from Stanionis. But it's very interesting. A little combination here, grabs him, puts his arm around his body, never legal, right? You might as well be poking him in the eye or kicking him in the dick, right? But he's trying to grab him here, flopping, right? Nobody likes this in soccer. Nobody likes it in basketball, right? But he's trying to spoil the fight. Now, again, a little bit of talking shit about your favorite fighter. He doesn't know how to fight on the inside. Not only does he not know how to move his head around, right? When he is going, he is just snapping and just smashing shots, right? But here he is getting broken up by the referee for no reason, right? Because he just grabbed and put his arms around the guy, and now he gets to go from being in the corner, right, to being in the middle of the ring, and he didn't have to fight for it, right? Now, his opponent wants to fight, right, on the inside. He wants to fight close because that's where he's going to have an advantage against, or not even an advantage, any opportunity to fight at all against a taller fighter. Jaron Ennis only wants to fight at range where he doesn't have to move his head. He's at the end of his line, basically all the way on the front foot. Look at his structure. I call it a heel, knee, head structure. He's in a position one structure as a southpaw. And he doesn't want to fight on the inside, right? And one of the reasons he doesn't want to fight on the inside because he's not actually that good at transitioning his weight and crossing the line, even though he's actually a decent striker, right? So, again, athletic style, right? Breaking down the Jaron Ennis style, right? Double jabs, right? And then what? Bop. Little bit of a trap right there, but again, not really crossing the line, not really moving his head, right? All snappy attacks, right? Give him a couple of controls. He tried to feint a right hand. Again, double jabs, controlling with the lead hand, basically posting, leashing a little bit of a combination, 1, 2, 3. If you guys look at in between the rounds, his coach, Bozy Ennis, tells him to do this, control, throw the jab, throw the 2 to the body, throw the 3 over the top, throw that shot. He follows up. He does actually exactly the same thing that his coach tells him to do. Pretty smart, right? Shout out to Bozy. But doesn't really work that way. And again, he's using a lot of athleticism to control the line. A lot of snaps, a lot of energy. Okay. Now, why is this important? You can't just keep doing this over and over and over again. Every time your opponent gets to the line, throwing these little combinations, he finally lands a weak ass punch here. And then what? He's trying to spin him around, hurt him around like he's a matador, right? Not a big deal. Okay. But again, it takes energy, right? Control with the lead hand, posting a little bit, and he tries to punch over the top, and now winds up getting Jaron Ennis over that very, very, very common lead hand control. Now, again, Ennis is not really crossing the line. He's leashing. He's taking a step back, leashing, taking a step back. He doesn't actually know how to step around and circle and take full advantage of all the positions around his opponent. Throws a shot, winds up bodying up. Again, he's in this position, eats a body shot. Again, doesn't know how to fight on the inside. Most of the time that Jaron Ennis moves on the inside here, he's not trying to fight. He's trying to spoil, right? Again, this is a strategy that he's using against who, right? I just want you guys to think about this real quick. I know you guys think I hate Jaron Ennis, whatever, But imagine you were fighting your cousin and you were allowed to knock him out. You're allowed to. It's okay. He's smaller than you, but nobody gives a fuck. He's annoying everyone at the party. So your aunt is like, go ahead, bust him up. And now in the midst of him trying to fight back, you have to grab and hold him. It's your little cousin. He's smaller than you. Why are you grabbing and holding him? That's what's going on here. He has to grab and hold, and here he is. The ref is going to say, your auntie is going to say, okay, we know you're supposed to be spanking your nephew right here, so we're going to reset you and put you in the middle of the ring. No big deal. Okay, so they're back in the middle of the ring. Instead of Stanionis getting to do his work that he fought hard, that he took punches to get to, right? Again, lead hand control, good work from Jaron Ennis, double jab, control. Oh my God, look at all those jabs, boom, 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 boom. Again, he's doing this against a guy who has fought one time in the last 3 years, and he's a one time a year fighter, and this is his second fight in 3 years. And his first fight was against a guy who's also not in shape, who's also not used to fighting, who's not in fight shape, right? They're both come off the bench, warm up fights, sad stuff. But again, control, 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 control. A lot of energy, a lot of this, a lot of that, right? Getting back on the line with them. Control, boom, snapping, snapping, throwing a lot of punches. Boom, boom. Not a lot of head movement. The first time that Stanionis finally throws a punch and Jaron Ennis gets hit. Why is he getting hit by literally 100% of the punches that Stanionis has thrown in the last 9 seconds? Okay. Again, he doesn't understand how to fight on the inside. Gets hit here. Gets hit here. Again, against the guy he's dominating on the outside, right? I know. You guys don't like it. It's okay. It's okay. Controlling with the stiff arm, right? Good timing there from Ennis, controlling with the stiff arm, and he gets whacked. Okay, this is why I don't really have a problem with it. It sucks if you're the really, really, really small fighter, but usually that shouldn't be happening. But Ennis eats a good shot here. What does he do? Tries to body up right there, fight on the inside, and what happens? Well, he starts grabbing his opponent. So he just did something that's technically illegal. I don't think it should be illegal because of what Stanionis just did, right? If you're doing that, you're probably going to get punched in the face by somebody real hard. That's exactly what happens. But now he resorts to fouling and cheating against a smaller fighter, his nephew, right? He's holding him. He just got hit after cheating, so he cheats again. But again, it shouldn't be cheating because what happens when you do that cheat happened. He got punched in the face, so now he's hurt. So he's going to cheat and hold and get saved by the ref so he can rest. Right? That shouldn't be happening. Right? We all agree? Right? Don't we agree? But again, doesn't know how to fight on the inside, doesn't move his head, gets hit with a clean shot right here against a guy who's, not fought in a few years, right? Again, gets hit here, right? Didn't get really hit, gets cuffed, but Jaron Ennis doesn't really move his head when he's punching. Avoids the shot here, ducking below the waist a little bit. Okay, gets hit anyway, doesn't really matter, right? Because he doesn't double foul, so it doesn't matter what happens. Right after that sequence, he jumps on the line, throws a combination, grabs the guy's head. And again, why in the third round is he already holding and grabbing and wrestling his nephew? Flopping, pretending like this was an accident. Bruh, I remember when I was in 6th grade, the first time I danced and I got to put my hands around my girlfriend's waist, and I was like, what the hell? What is going on? Hell yeah, I'm going to try to grab this chick's butt. Right? That's exactly what he's doing. Why is he trying to touch Stanionis' butt right here? What's going on here? Right? And he's going, oh, what's going on? Oh, little floppy. Stupid. What the fuck is that shit? Again, Stanionis doesn't get to be paid off for being the little guy, right? Trying to fight on the inside, trying to work. And what happens? For whatever reason, the referee is not minding his own business, right? And he's saving Jaron Ennis. Again, Jaron Ennis doesn't really move his head when he's throwing his punches, doesn't know where his head's supposed to go, gets hit for no reason there, working on the inside, gets hit again, working on the inside, gets hit again, doesn't really move his head, gets hit again. Right? Not very good on the inside. Stanionis, by the way, I just want to point out, someone came back to my channel and said, see, I saw that triple jab thing. Hell yeah. And he took Stanionis' best shots and then still whooped him. And it's like, hey, you dumb motherfucker. Don't you realize the whole reason that I made that video was to tell you guys that he was going to take Stanionis' best shots? Thanks for coming back and saying I was right, moron. Anyway, getting back to the film study, very, very athletic. Control, 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 smack, 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 jump on his head, hold him. What's going on, guys? Ref, how did we wind up in this position? You guys go to somebody's gym and you start holding him and jumping on his head, right? Are they going to invite you back? No, they're not going to invite you back to their gym, right? What in the heck is going on with my mouse right here? But A little bit of head movement. People do that kind of stuff when they don't actually know how to cross the line and do stuff. Again, stepping jab right there, stepping jab 1-1-2. Doesn't hardly move his head, throws a 3. Not a lot of head movement. Again, he had the little feinting bullshit, but not really doing the thing correctly. Control, gets whacked anyway. Again, it's fake defense. Doesn't really work that way. Gets hit. Again, he doesn't know how to move his head on defense, right? And then fake defense, move right there. Blah, 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 blah. Jaron Ennis is a talented guy, okay? He does a lot of that stuff, controlling the line. He understands what fighting is. He gets a lot of it. He's a striker. He can, man, you guys remember that time that he beat up that little tiny guy, the ex kickboxer. I used to rate him kind of highly, but he looks really good beating up guys who are 5'6". He looks really good at beating those guys up. Okay, and as Jaron Ennis moves up in weight, okay, real quick here. Well, feint gets a reaction. Feint gets a reaction. Feint. That's kind of legal defense right there. Dangerous as hell, but I want to remind you guys, it's a fight. This is what you signed up for. You're not allowed to duck below the waist, hide your head in your opponent's crotch, and then grab them and hold them and tell them how much you love them, right? Nobody's here for that, okay? Now again, this is the beginning of the round, 5th round, moving his head a little bit. His opponent finally gets on the line, smacks him to the body. Why is he grabbing his head? Why is he holding his head? That's illegal, right? That's illegal. But he doesn't know how to get out of the corner without eating punches. So now he's flopping, right? He's looking at the ref. He's opening his mouth like trying to rest here. Let him rest, ref. Mind your business. Mind your business, ref. Keep letting Stanionis throw punches if you want to. What are you doing? Why are you interfering? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. Now again, Mike Tyson used to say everyone fights hard for 3 rounds. I just want to point out that as soon as Ennis starts slowing down a little bit, start needing rest, he starts getting hit clean. He does wind up getting hit by all of Stanionis' cleanest punches or hardest punches. He does. Again, getting hit here for no reason, doesn't know how to move his head. All these things, these are massive, massive problems. And again, he's just lucky that he fought a guy that hadn't really fought in 3 years. He's not a real knockout puncher, even though he's really strong, he's really fit. He's ripped. The guy's in incredible shape, but he's not a real striker. He's not a hard puncher. He's just a pretty good athlete. Okay? And, I'm not sure that, when you take a look at what's going on in the ring, let's just imagine that he starts fighting guys who are, 5'10", 6 foot, right? What kind of defense did he have against somebody once they got into range? Right? And he wasn't interacting well. Well, once they were in range, he would try to grab them and to put his hands on top of his head. All right, so he's fighting a guy who's 6 foot. This guy's naturally in range when you're not in range. Are you going to be jumping and grabbing to hold him when you're not in range and he's in range? It doesn't really work that way. But yet that's what we see over and over and over again when the ring gets cut off against Jaron Ennis. When he's circling, when he's stepping around, he winds up finding himself backed up against the ropes instead of being able to circle and step around and set traps correctly, right? Now, instead of being able to fight on the inside, instead of being able to move his head, right? This is a good performance against somebody who hasn't fought in 3 years. Okay? Jaron Ennis is a talented guy. Maybe he'll figure it out. Okay? And he'll actually get to become one of those guys that's an all-time great. Maybe. Right? He still has to beat, who has a belt right now? Brian Norman Jr. and then like the last karate fighter ever, Mario Barrios, right? That guy, that guy's an easy fight. That's an easy fight. I would 100%. I mean, Brian Norman Jr. should fight Mario Barrios for free. He should fight him for free to steal that belt from Eddie Hearn, to steal that belt from PBC, to steal that belt from Jaron Ennis, so that Jaron Ennis has to fight him. If that's what Brian Norman Jr. really wants. Okay, if Brian Norman Jr. doesn't really want to fight Jaron Ennis, he should steer clear of Mario Barrios because, you know, he is actually the easiest cherry in the division, right? Mario Barrios is I don't want to call him a straight bum, but that guy's weak. That guy's fucking soft. He's super weak. And Jaron Ennis, he's got fast hands. He puts his hands together quickly. He's got decent power, right? He's got decent power. When you have decent power and you fight a bunch of guys who are smaller than you and weaker than you, you're going to knock them out, right? But he should knock Mario Barrios out. He should. Tank Davis did, right? Easy work. But Jaron Ennis says he wants to be, undisputed champion at 47, 54, 60, and 68. With flaws like this, not being able to fight on the inside, not being able to shoulder roll, he gets hit when he's not moving his head. He's not going to have enough energy in the fight to fight someone who's 6'2". He's not going to be able to beat a guy that has a 4-inch reach advantage or a 4-inch height advantage against him. He's just not going to be able to do it. And, not Fedora. Fedora aside, because that guy's weak, But a strong 60 or 68 pounder, even a strong 54 pounder, Erislandy Lara could wind up being a really tough fight for Jaron Ennis. Yeah, I just don't see, without a little bit of a revamp, a little bit of being able to learn how to move his head and circle correctly. Jaron Ennis is going to do well at welterweight. He might go 100% at 54, right? Once Virgil Ortiz inevitably has to move up because he's going to have to move up to 60 and Crawford retires. If Crawford fights Jaron Ennis is fast, right? But he's not dropping Sean Porter, right? I heard a little bit about what happened in the sparring, right? But if Crawford's catching you with the kind of shots that Stanionis is catching you with, he's going to knock you out. He's going to knock you out. Would be a dope fight. Tim Tszyu versus Jaron Ennis. Probably be a really sick fight for Jaron Ennis to make a debut at 54. Do it in Australia so that they can retire Tim Tszyu. But that's a winnable fight for Tim Tszyu. We see how many punches that Stanionis is able to land, and Tim Tszyu is he's just close enough to knock out power that people get really worried, and if he could actually chain some punches together, maybe he could get a stoppage. But Ennis gets hit enough that he would make Tim Tszyu look like a better fighter than he is, right? I mean, we just saw Stanionis go life and death with Ennis. The guy can't land a hard punch on a dude to save his life, right? But he's landing huge shots against Ennis, and again, people really take his punching power seriously. It's okay. He got a sting. He got a little sting. Don't let that guy punch you in the face, but he got a little sting. Anyway, I also saw that it was funny that Shakur Stevenson, the protege of Terrence Crawford, was trying to get some work done for Terrence Crawford, getting Ennis and Virgil Ortiz to beat each other up, wear each other out a little bit, so that Crawford has a better time at 54 if he can tie those guys up. Honestly, Ennis, not an easy fight for Crawford either because he's short. But Comparatively speaking, they're both taller than me. But anyway, um, Shakur Stevenson, deathly afraid of Zepeda, trying to make it sound like Boots, if you a real one, you got to go fight Virgil Ortiz, as if Ennis fighting Virgil Ortiz is the same as him fighting Zepeda. Zepeda's not the one. Just because he might whoop your ass, he's not the fucking one. Tank Davis would kill that guy. He would kill that guy in the second round. I don't even know if he'd make it out of the first, but Tank Davis would kill that guy 100%. Any kind of rule set. Nothing would save that guy. Anyway, um, Shakur Stevenson, you probably are gonna beat Zepeda. You're probably gonna beat him, but it's that fight that Tank was afraid of fighting. Who's that guy that don't fucking punch when he moves his head? I can see his fucking head in my. He's a bald guy. He fought fucking everybody now, but it was one of the first big step ups for Tank, and Tank thought he was gonna lose. He thought he was being set up. I think his name had a Z in it as well, but I can't remember. Anyway, blah 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 blah. I know you guys love Jaron Ennis. He's fun. He's fast handed and all that stuff, But imagine, right? Pernell Whitaker being, fighting at middleweight, right? He was fighting at 47. He's 5'6", fighting at 47, 40 and 47. Right? That's Jaron Ennis. As soon as he runs out of his advantage of being bigger than guys, is he going to be knocking dudes out? Is he? He's not even knocking this guy out. This guy quit in the corner. He hasn't fought a real fight in 3 years. Right? He already has less than half as many fights as Jaron Ennis. Completely inexperienced. Coming off a massive layoff-ish. Anyway, Jaron Ennis, goodish fighter. Everyone should aspire to be at that level, but you guys can get better.